The story we're going to talk about is the cult leader of QAnon in Canada, Romana Didulo. This woman has over 60,000 followers, and it is so alarming because they're basically overrunning a Canadian school, and they're staying in a previous school in a small Canadian town, and there's multiple people living in a compound. The public of that town is very, very worried. How I was introduced to this story was I was scrolling on TikTok one night and I just see an entire thread of videos about Romana Didulo, and I'm like, what is happening?
Shame on you! Shame on you!
I'm gonna get another horn ready.
And they're just talking about a cult leader in Canada and how they're trying to push her out of the school and her followers out of the school. This cult has been huge for the past several years. This is giving Waco. This is giving Waco vibes. Have you heard of Romana Didulo, one of the most hated women in Canada right now? So Romana was essentially born in 1974 in November in the Philippines. From what Romana has said, her parents came from pretty good jobs in the Philippines. I could not find any credible sources that talked a lot about her childhood, but most of them said that Romana's parents had died when she was younger and she was taken in by her grandparents or her aunt. Some sources said that she moved to Vancouver or she moved to the United States in 1990. It's very unsure which area she moved to, but right now she's in Canada, so a lot of the sources say in 1990 she did move to Vancouver. Little is known about her childhood and young adult life because Romana was fairly private. She was a private woman. She did own multiple businesses, and this is evident because in one of her live streams she had mentioned that none of her business ventures prior to this whole cult experience were ever successful. She ended up saying that she was once homeless, living on the floor of a nail salon, and Romana essentially, when she started gaining these followers, that would be one of her very first successful business ventures where she felt in her element. Romana in 2001 got very deep in conspiracy theories and QAnon theories. She created a political party in Canada called Canada First, and along with this Canada First mindset, that would indefinitely make Romana the Queen of Canada under her political party. She ended up gaining several thousands of followers, and all of these followers believe that she is the Queen of Canada. Now, during the pandemic, many people were vulnerable in their mindsets, and many people had different opinions on the COVID vaccine. So Romana used this political sphere that she was in, political ideas, to essentially tell her audience that the COVID vaccine is terrible, it's the worst thing that anyone could ever do, it's gonna make you unpure. It is even on record that she once told her followers to shoot people who are giving out COVID vaccines. Now, this could be a pharmacist at Walmart. When I honestly heard this, I was like, what? Because sometimes you don't even have a choice what you do for work. A lot of companies had it mandatory. Now, after she ended up getting more rowdy during the pandemic, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police were sent in for a wellness check on Romana because she was speaking gibberish, essentially telling people COVID vaccine's evil and all these things. And so they went and did a wellness check on her, and she was actually released. Due to Romana's very large presence online, she actually ended up influencing one of her followers in Quebec. He was arrested for allegedly threatening to shoot up his child's school because they were offering free vaccinations. These followers are so obsessive with Romana, and throughout my research I realized she had people who had quit their jobs and quit their entire lives and sold their houses because they believed in what Romana has been telling them. The main social media that Romana was using was Telegram. Telegram is a lot like GroupMe. If you ever use GroupMe, it makes a large group of people and you can all have conversations. Kind of reminds me of, especially because I'm Latina, WhatsApp. A lot of people in the community use WhatsApp, and a lot of news gets spread around, especially false news, through things like WhatsApp and Telegram and things like that. It's just giving the mom post. You know how a mom will send you a post like, oh, I found a razor blade in my candy bar? That's kind of what people were saying about Romana. That vibe of her telling people, we are Canada first and we need to take Canada back, and all of this was spreading all over Telegram. Romana does believe in QAnon base level things. So they believe that the government is being ruled by a bunch of people who are child predators or satanic in a way, and that these people have a mass amount of power in the government, and that they're trying to essentially, They're the elites. Romana believes that she will take Canada back to the people. Romana starts doing fundraising. She starts fundraising. Girl, she's resourceful. She decides that she is going to go out and raise money on a GoFundMe for herself and for her followers. One of the things that she was able to do is amass $100,000. $100,000. She raised $100,000 for this Canadian verse political party. Romana actually got a group of 12 people to travel with her. These people gave up their day-to-day lives, they gave up their jobs, they gave up their houses, all started wearing matching outfits that basically said they were white shirts with QR on them for Queen Romana. Honestly, I can't even joke about this. I always try to incorporate lighthearted things in this, but that scares me. Now, the sources say that these 12 people who follow around Romana essentially do everything for her because she's a queen. She's Queen Bee. They clean for her, they cook for her, they wake her up. She wakes them up whenever she needs something. They are at her beck and call. I know Vice is not the most credible source, and most people believe, why would you believe large news outlets? But many news outlets have reported that several followers of Romana are now speaking out, one of them being Daisy. Daisy has spoken out as one of the QR Queen Romana members. Now remember, in Telegram, that was only 70,000 virtual people. Now, for the QR, the Queen Romana people, she has actual humans working with her every single day, quitting their jobs and going to be in her group. It's kind of like a caravan. They all just travel in cars right now because they just travel with Romana. Daisy told Vice that she lost 10 to 15 pounds weight loss. She lost this during volunteering for Romana. Daisy has a husband, Corey, who actually quit his job as well. Daisy and her husband, Corey, really did believe in the things that Queen Romana was putting out. Corey was previously a mechanic and still is a mechanic, but he was a mechanic for Romana, and whenever I think she has a van that they all kind of drive around on. Whenever anything that she needed fixed broke down, Corey was able to kind of help Romana with it, but he said that she ended up being super ungrateful, essentially, and he said that she was giving him death threats whenever something wasn't working. Anyone who ever spoke out, and this is from Vice, anyone who ever spoke out against Romana, or even if she's hey, will you guys make me popcorn, clean my clothes, fix my car, do all, just giving demands, and let's say if they were I'm tired, no, or I don't think we should leave at this time, they would be threatened with death, execution, or even just blackmail. Daisy has even quoted Romana by saying, "Nobody controls my timeline. Anybody that screws up my timeline is going to be tried for treason and shot in the head." What? That's so insane to me. I can't get over this. I can't. Now, Romana actually has these monthly, weekly little Zoom chats and things like that she has. And she has all these little QR outfits, QR flags, QR money, all things that she kind of does for these little live streams. And one of the big things that Romana did that really offended her followers, because a lot of the followers are patriots, people who love Canada, people who are truckers, people who just have that country, love my country, that sort of vibe. Essentially what she did was she burned a Canadian flag, and that is when a lot of the truckers just gave up and stopped being fans of her. And she honestly was I don't care who I offend because I am the Queen of Canada. I can do whatever I want. Now, the weirdest thing that I read about Romana, and I should not be smiling about this is not funny, but she made her followers listen to Rasputin, the song from the Go Go Rasputin, that song for 10 hours straight on a road trip. 10 hours straight. That would take me out. That would honestly take me. In Kamsack, Canada, essentially her and her 200 followers tried to set up camp in that area, and they were actually escorted out by the entire community. They were oh no, I'm not playing, you need to leave. So the entire community banded together to kind of escort her out of this town because they were not having it. The follower decided to invite Romana and the rest of the followers to come live in a school that he owns in Richmond, Saxe, Canada. Romana has now began printing her own money to pay her followers with and send to her followers. It's not a recognized form of currency. I don't know why they want it so bad, but I just don't get it. It's like using Monopoly money. Community members of Richmond realize that they are adamant to get them out of that school. The town members ended up banding together with signs, with car horns. They honked their horns in their cars so hard that if they honked the horn and it went out, they went and they bought physical horns to get Romana and her followers out of this school. They literally were like, trying to get her out of this building. The police realized how big the situation was getting, and the police decided to join the standoff just to make sure everyone was safe. The big thing that the police were telling the townspeople is if they don't inflict any harm and they don't threaten harm to anyone in the area, they can get away with whatever they want. And that is the same thing about most religious cults or cults in general. If they are not harming anyone, even those in the cult, or harming anyone external to the cult, they cannot get in trouble. Several Canada First members were arrested at the school site. The last update that I could find was in October of 2023. This was fairly recent, where the Richmond police officers have launched an investigation on Romana and her followers because they allegedly made a threatening note towards the police department. This was one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. Honestly, I didn't even know that cults were this big. Please know that if you feel like you have been impacted by a cult or anything like that, I'm going to leave some resources down below. Please let me know what you think. I would love to hear your opinions and comments down below. Let me know if you have any questions. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. I love you guys so much. Bye!